Good morning, Clemton, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. This is the start of the Eagles season. So I'm wearing my brand new Barkley sweatshirt or jersey, hoping for a good game tonight. We're excited for that. Weather is nice. Going to be warm here today. Hope it's nice and warm where you are. Um, let's get into it. Liar, liar, pants on fire. You ever heard that expression? We often use that in a teasing way when we think somebody has not quite told the truth. Um, or I've heard people use the response, "Liars burn in hell." We use other expressions like, "Oh, it was just a little white lie." I don't even know where that expression comes from, a little white lie, as opposed to what other color. Like, I don't even understand that one. The truth is, we do a lot of things, we say a lot of things related to not telling the truth that kind of minimizes how important it is to tell the truth and not to lie. We use a lot of what would be called euphemisms and phrases and things. We 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 don't often like to call it what it is. We're in a series of the beginning part of the series is seven things that God hates. We establish that God does hate things. There are things that just sin bothers God, and some sin bothers God even more. I'm not going to say that Proverbs 6:16 to 19 is the final complete list of every sin that God hates, but I will tell you this. He told us these seven are things that he hates. It says it this way, there are six things the Lord hates, seven that are detestable to him. That is a Hebrew word play that's meant to mean the same thing. So the things that the Lord hates are detestable to him. The things that are detestable are things the Lord hates. So there's seven things the Lord hates. We started off, I think a week ago or more, before Karen and I took a trip with some friends, talking about haughty eyes, the problem of pride in our lives. The second one is a lying tongue. God hates a lying tongue. God does not hate great big lying tongues. God hates lying tongues. He doesn't have a category for little white lies. He just has a category for telling the truth and those who don't tell the truth. That's the only two categories. Not all of life is black and white, but this is kind of a black and white issue. Either we're telling the truth or we're not telling the truth. Now, I'm not talking about being careful in our words so we don't needlessly offend people and things of that nature. I'm not talking about that. What I am talking about in the general uh, carrying out of our lives, the general discourse of our lives, are we honest or are we not honest? Now, let me say this right off the bat. All commandments from God are based on two things. Two things we want to keep in mind. One, and the primary one is this: commands that God gives us are based on the character of God, the holiness, perfections of God, because we are expected to reflect those in our lives. He literally said, "Be ye perfect as I am perfect." He didn't say, "Hey, be pretty good because I'm good." He didn't say, generally do the right thing. He actually set an extremely high standard. Be ye perfect as I am perfect. Or in another place, he says, be holy as I am holy. And we're very familiar with verses that say that we should be loving because he first, excuse me, he first loved us. All commandments given by God are related to the very character of God. That's the first thing. Second thing is this: all commands are based on the fact that we are weak, sinful people and prone to do what is wrong. And left to ourselves, we will do wrong. And so we need instruction on how to do what is right. So let's look at a couple verses here related to God and the fact that he is true. I just randomly picked, I didn't randomly, I picked three verses. There's way more we could look at, but Hebrews 6:18. This is a chapter talking about the promises that God has made to us and why we can trust the promises of God. God did this so that by two things in which it is impossible for God to lie, we who have fled to take hold of the hope set before us may be greatly encouraged. I'm not going to go into the two things and the whole setting. The middle phrase there, it is impossible for God to lie. Jesus said in John chapter 14, verse 6, I am the way, I am the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Catch that. Jesus said, I am the truth. The Spirit of God himself in John chapter 16, verse 13. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you into all truth. I didn't even put on here a verse about how it says that all of God's word is truth. Truth, truth, truth. God is full of truth. He's pure. He's purely good, purely truthful. We can depend on God because of that. But he expects us to be truthful in all that we do. So we kind of, as human beings, we've made up kind of like a class system of lies. But I think that they all actually fall into this category. And of those seven things that God hates, I think this is the one that people are most likely to struggle with in their lives as I look over this, because some of them are pretty big things, but they all have implications in our lives. But this one about being truthful, I think this is the one that more often than not, people struggle with being honest in all that they do. We already talked about the fact that we have little white lies, right? Um, as opposed to great big lies. So in our case, a politician shouldn't lie to us. You shouldn't go on the witness stand in a courtroom and lie unless it's for somebody that you like. I'm not actually condoning it. I'm just talking about the way we think. Uh, so we have this classification system: little lies, big lies. Here's a way that we sometimes lie that we don't always think about. You can actually say a whole bunch of truthful things and lie at the same time. If you have picked truthful things and put them together and put them out in a way that creates an impression that's not true, and you do that on purpose, that is a form of a lie. So that if I'm in the room with Karen and Karen makes wonderful muffins. Say she made wonderful muffins for guests, and I brought her the eggs to help make the muffins. And we're sitting at the dining room table, and the guests are going, "Oh, these muffins are so good." I know Karen and I made those muffins. Well, it's kind of true because I brought some of the ingredients to her, and she's the one who mixed them together and baked them and put muffins out on the table. The statements themselves are true, but the impression is not true. Because I really didn't make the muffins in that case. No, I didn't do this. I totally made up this scenario. But I want you to know this is an area that many of us struggle with, of saying things about a story, telling the story in a way that all of it technically is true, but it creates an impression, and it's meant to create the impression of something that's not true. We ought to do away with that in our lives. We should be striving to be like God by his grace and with his help to show his perfections in our lives before other people. And one of the key areas is in the area of honesty and truth. God hates a lying tongue. God hates a lying tongue because God is purely truthful. Because God is purely truthful, we can count on God. My question then is, can others count on us as well? So that's my thought for today. Lord willing, I look forward to seeing you all on Monday. Can't believe it's Friday already. Hope you have a good weekend. Hope the Eagles win, and we'll see you all again on Monday.